Hello and welcome to another special edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. It is Thursday. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani, joined by Matt Wiltse. We are doing episode 2 of the Beckham documentary. Matt Wiltse is furious with me that I haven't finished the doc yet. He logged on thinking we're going to talk about episode 3, 4. We're only at episode 2 so far. He finished it, binge watched it day 1 because he loves David Beckham, obsessed. I'm pacing myself. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask someone my age, Matt, to binge watch something. There's a lot going on. You only have one kid. I have 2 kids. You're youthful. You're exuberant. I'm not. So just bear with me and be patient with me, Matt, as I go through the Beckham documentary. We'll break this down into at least a 3rd segment, possibly a 4th, much to Matt's dismay. But Matt is back. We did episode 1 already. That's on the feed. Matt, welcome back. How you doing?
You got me laughing. I think fair enough. Fair enough on your reasons for not finishing the series so far. I'll say my son goes to bed at 7, so I get a nice little window there to do some free time, some things in free time, and of course I made sure to knock out this Beckham doc.
My sons go start the process of bedtime around 7:30, but it can be like a 2-hour process.
An hour.
Yeah. They got to go and jump on each other's beds for like 30 minutes. They got to ask for the bedtime snack. They got to say I'm hungry, I have to use the bathroom. They prolong the process as much as possible. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to episode 1, I would just request that, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm not a dictator, but you guys, I would say it would make more sense to go listen to episode 1 and then come back to this one and listen to it in chronological order. So episode 1, we talked about a bunch of stuff. Episode 2, we're still not at the Real Madrid part yet, but there's enough in here. I left off kind of saying that the Simeone cameo was great in episode 1. And I enjoyed it more in episode 2 because it starts off, Matt, by him saying that it wasn't a yellow card. He was laughing while he was saying it. It wasn't a red card. He was laughing while he was saying it. And he basically made it a point to say, I exaggerated a non-existent kick, which was an interesting perspective, I guess. How many years later? 25 or so? I don't know. What were your thoughts on that he came out and said that it wasn't a red card? Did that surprise you when he said that?
Well, I mean, if you actually watch the incident, like, he doesn't really kick him that hard or with his studs. He just kind of lifts his leg up.
Right. Yeah.
I think it was the act that actually
Correct.
just makes it look worse than it is. But I think he tempered it. And so, yeah, I actually agree with Simeone. And Simeone, I think he's pretty reasonable about this and this whole situation over the years. And, I don't know if you've seen it in episode 2, but it might be a spoiler, but, basically he and Beckham, reconcile, and even when they play each other, the following season, swap shirts. And,
yeah.
I think that was kind of finish the story and kind of show that they can both move on from it. And you can tell that they both respect each other tremendously. And they're in ways, they're kind of similar players in terms of just their mentality and work ethic. Other aesthetically very different and playing style different, but just on I think those two traits, they're actually kind of similar.
What do you think English fans felt? English fans from 1998 who were basically destroyed and angry after that for a long time. Look back on this 25 years later and see the man who caused them so much pain laughing about it and saying, yeah, it wasn't a red card. Do you think they would, enough time has passed and they wouldn't care and they would have found it funny too? Or do you think they would have just been boiling inside that he was laughing about it?
I don't know. I think depends on. Um, I think you had to be an English fan in the moment, and it depends on like how you felt and reacted to that moment. Like you would think with time heals all, and so you would think that with the passage of time they could kind of agree with it, laugh, and move on. But I think we both know how some fans are, and probably there's a portion of fans that probably got pretty livid seeing that.
I think it would have made me angry because I'm just kind of thinking of parallel hypotheticals. So let's say, trying to think of a good example here that would hit close to home.
Like the Pepe incident with Danny Alves. If Danny Alves came
Yeah,
back and laughed and like,
yeah.
if I think about that, I'd probably be
I'd
like, that
probably
was
be
one of the
upset.
most
Like I wouldn't be
heated
like
games.
ha 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 ha
I'm
ha.
still pissed about that.
Yeah, I don't think I would get over that one. I'd be
Yeah.
upset. So I think this is again, as I mentioned to you in episode one, a lot of this stuff was new to me because while I remember the red card, I was too young to really understand how much hate he was getting at the time. I mean, it's funny because in the documentary they even state that he wasn't really even fully aware of how much they hated him until he went back to England from the US. Um, I gotta admit, it kind of hurt me to see the entire country just turn on him like that in such a cruel, heartless manner. That they just basically dehumanized everything from um, the doll that they hanging him to the hate that his parents were getting, hate he was getting. Uh, it was just crazy to me that over a game we can lose our humanity in such a way on a mass scale over somebody making a mistake on the football field. Clearly didn't feel good about it, and let's be honest, like, in reflection, it was probably a harsh red card as well. On top of that, the manager turning on him, adding fuel to the fire. And you and I are on the same page as this. I think you mentioned this as much in episode one, but, like ever since becoming a father, I've always been a bit of an empath, but ever since becoming a father, my empathy has increased tremendously. And that everyone who makes a mistake, I'll look at, even as simple as like my waiter at a restaurant, if he gets my food wrong. I think like, what if that's my son in 15 years and he makes a mistake? How would I want someone to treat him at the table? Like I always think about like how I would want someone to treat my son, and it just kind of like hurt me to see him go through all that. And I couldn't believe how many people were reacting that way.
I 100% agree, and I think like just to see the scale and magnitude of it, um, like it really hit home in the documentary. I think everyone's kind of heard about it, and even like for people like me who are obsessed with Beckham, like read about it and everything like that. But like just to see, they had to dedicate a whole episode to it because it was that impactful on his life, and it was that just the magnitude and everything was crazy. And so I think that's I'm with you. Like I couldn't get over it, and I think it clearly marked him. It clearly marks the family. Like it was a turning point in his life, but he's it shows like you could have easily crumbled in that situation. And they talk about how like mental health wasn't really a thing back then, and he didn't really have anyone to turn to, and like he could have easily crumbled, but instead he has his best season ever, and Manchester United go on to win the treble. So that's I mean, I think that goes to tell you everything about the man.
Even like I mean, some of the stuff was ridiculous. I mean, the stupidity of some people. Like, you remember the West Ham fan that they showed? Because I think one of the first games that they outlined, like one of the away games that Beckham had to go to, was West Ham. And they were saying in the doc, like, West Ham is one of the worst places for this kind of stuff. And there's a West Ham fan standing there, and he's like, if we all had the gift that Beckham had to be a professional footballer, we would know how to stay on the field for 90 minutes. I'm like, what are you talking about? I hope that guy like is watching this documentary now and is like so embarrassed about that moment. I really wonder, like, because obviously this Beckham documentary is marketed to a lot of people. It's has a marketing machine behind it. I really hope like everyone in England is watching this from that time and thinking, yeah, maybe we overreacted. Like, imagine saying that if we had the gift of that Beckham had, as if like to completely discredit the hard work that goes into becoming a footballer. And mind you, Beckham wasn't the most talented player either. He actually worked tremendously hard. He had like the Ronaldo effect to him. Like he would show up to training. He took his craft seriously, and he worked hard at his skills. Like corner kicks over and over again. Like how many times do you hit a corner? Does a normal person hit a corner a day? He was doing it like constantly all day. It just annoyed me that they discredited him like that. Fans did anyway.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think England, like the English fans, did they had an opportunity to show that they learned from it with the whole Wayne Rooney thing in
Mm.
2006, Cristiano, and I think that was better. Like I think obviously he didn't get the same level of hate and just publicity and everything that Beckham did because Beckham and others, the coach at the time, I think it was Gordon Erickson, like they all made sure that hey, don't do the same thing you did to me, like protect him. So I think Beckham had to kind of be the scapegoat and the one that suffered all that abuse for others to learn from it. And I've even seen Harry Maguire come out recently and talk about how Beckham actually has reached out to him, given like all the hate he gets for Manchester United and England, and he said like it was just a really supportive phone call and
Mm.
stuff like that.
Well, I was my mind kept going to the fact that Rashford and a couple others missed those penalties in the World Cup. Like how much vitriol they got, you know? And this is, present day. And I'm sure it wasn't easy for them either. But I'm not going to say it was easier for them or harder. I think it was hard for everybody. But Rio does bring up the point, like, now there's a support system. Now on social media, there's like these huge campaigns like, hey, lay off these guys. This is insane. Uh, Whereas Beckham felt, like he was dealing with that alone. My mind also went to Vinicius, with the racism and the abuse he suffered. And I think a lot of people felt that he was alone, despite a lot of people standing up for him. A lot of it was him kind of dealing with it himself. But back then, that it wasn't like this, like it is now. Like there wasn't that kind of support system as that exists right now, or that kind of empathy. Um, what did you come away thinking of Glenn Hoddle after all this?
I I did not after all this I did not hold a high opinion of him. I
Yeah.
think I mean that's literally coaching 101 and manager 101 and putting yourself for the player, protecting your players. Like it's just he threw forget coaching too, just like any facet of life, whether you're in business, a teacher, whatever it may be. Like you put your when you lead a team and you organize a group, like it's you're supposed to take responsibility and you're supposed to protect those behind you and kind of he did not do that at all. And I mean, I don't. It's hard to think of like. I guess Jose Mourinho is maybe another one that sometimes does this, but like so publicly out a player and a single player and just put like give them to the wolves. Like it's hard to think of other examples of that. Just so blatant.
Yeah, because especially like, okay, it was one thing to like call him out on off-field distractions or whatever, but like that moment, like to a World Cup, collective World Cup failure on a moment like that, it was. I came away thinking that Glenn Hoddle, I just didn't like him after this documentary, and I knew very little about him, but after the documentary, and I was like, and I kept wondering like, what's the relationship like now? And then you see comments from Victoria where she's like, he's not a man. I forget what wording she used. Like he's just an aging human or something, or an old. Like he didn't even refer. He's like that's not a man. And I was like, oh, okay. So obviously the relationship still is not great, understandably. Um, the something I really enjoyed that closed out episode 2, Matt, was the storytelling on the Champions League final. What do you remember that in real time? Was that before your time?
Yeah, that was before I got really into football.
Yeah. Um, I remember living through it, but again, at that point, kind of more as a casual football fan. Um, Even though I started watching in '98, by '99 I was kind of really not aware of how crazy that moment was until like maybe a few years later when you're watching highlights. Um, I really like the storytelling of it though. Everything from Beckham, like they asked him like what was going through your mind because he was like, I gave everything I had nothing left. They were about to be eliminated. Bayern was about to lift the trophy. They weren't going to achieve the treble. And they asked him like what he felt taking that corner, and he's like, I remember everything my dad would used to say. I would have to take the corner until I got it perfect. If I didn't get it perfect, I would have to hit it again and hit it again. And that was going through his mind. I like the way they set that up. It was cool to hear the cameos from Solskjaer in that too. You have to like that. What really was a crazy, crazy moment. I don't know if we talk about it enough as we should, or maybe I just don't come across it enough because I'm a Real Madrid fan. Maybe in the Manchester United sphere, they talk about it as much as like we talk about Ramos's header. Like, how do you compare that moment? I just as a Madridista, you have to just tip your hat to the to remontada. Like, it was insane that they came back and won it. Like, they didn't just equalize and then take it into extra time. They somehow scored 2 goals at the end, which is crazy. I remember hearing a story outside of this documentary that the guy who um, is in charge of like bringing out the trophy at the end of the game, he went in to get the trophy and then came out to present the trophy and was surprised that he's handing it to Manchester United instead of Bayern Munich. I don't know how accurate that was, but certainly like if you had to like, step away for a second, you would be shocked to know that Manchester United had actually won it. Just like in terms of how crazy that moment was, even though maybe you don't remember it in real time, like what was your takeaway just like reliving that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm surprised it feels like it's not talked about that much and again, maybe just you and I not being in the Manchester United sphere, maybe that's why, but it just feels like it should be talked about way more. Um, and yeah, I think I mean, you could argue equivalent, if not greater than La Decima header because it was 2 goals in the dying minutes extra time.
Mm.
And I think that corner kick, like that whole narrative you talked about with the corner kick and practicing it with his dad time and time again, like I think that goes to show how, like I told my wife because she was watching it with me, I'm like, that shows just like these little moments and like these little you would think nothing of, but it all adds up and it all comes together, and like that defined a Champions League final for him and for Manchester United because of things he did years and years and years ago, just continually training. And like come 1999 in the 92nd or whatever, 93rd minute, he has to go take a corner kick and it's perfect and right where it needs to be because of all this training he did so many years ago. Like it's not happen chance. It's not Manchester United got lucky. Like they created that luck through, and Beckham created that luck through all the habits and the training and the work he put in years and years and years prior. And so like it's crazy to think about it like that.
What did you think of Roy Keane's appearance in this documentary and kind of the stuff he was saying? Do you remember much of it?
I just one thing I remember is like, and I don't know if this was part of episode 2, is like basically he said like, well, Beckham was lucky he had teammates like us because insinuating and saying that like they'll take care of any other players on the other team that try and go after Beckham and try and go after and chant about Posh Spice and things like that. Like I thought that was awesome. Like I thought that was just total brotherhood. total leader and captain. Like Roy Keane, you know all the stories about him. You hear about, like, he was such an influential figure for that team, and he I just thought that statement was great.
Yeah, I appreciated him. He's a pretty polarizing figure, but you can't deny that he's very honest. And it kind of reminded me of like the Sergio Ramos, Fernando Hierro, like Pepe archetype, that like Casemiro, that he's still like, no matter how good we play sometimes in present day, I still miss having a figure like that that would just take no nonsense from anyone and will just clock you and clean you out. I appreciated that side of it. When you look at this Manchester United team from that season in particular, 98, 99, they win the treble. You remember how good that team was. And it's crazy to me that we knocked, like those two teams that played in the final that year, Manchester United and Bayern Munich. The following season, Real Madrid knocked them both out and won the Champions League. And you look at that Manchester United team and the names that are appearing in the documentary, like, holy shit, these guys were all on the same team. Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, David Beckham, everyone from Solskjaer to Sheringham to Dwight York to Andy Cole, and a bunch of players I'm probably forgetting about. Later on, you have other great players join that nucleus, like Rio Ferdinand, Jaap Stam, Peter Schmeichel. It's a great team. The next season, we're fifth in La Liga. We're knocking them out through some unbelievable, just ridiculous magic from Redondo and Raul, Roberto Carlos. Pretty crazy that we just knocked both of these teams out the following season.
That's the Real Madrid way, and I think you'll see in the next few episodes, like, how Real Madrid is portrayed and discussed, and even with like some of these other so with some of the other folks they bring in to interview, and the Manchester United players and stuff like that. Like, it's you can, I mean, we know it and we understand it, but like, it just, even the football world gets it. Like, even if Real Madrid's in fifth place in La Liga, like, it's Real Madrid.
Do you, I don't care if you spoil it. Do they bring up the Champions League encounter the following year, 98 or 99,
Yeah.
2000? They do. Okay.
Yeah, that's like the first intro to it.
Yeah.
And like kind of the step, because obviously the Ferguson Beckham boot incident, like everything kind of leads up to all that, and so and that's kind of perfect segue into his eventual Real Madrid career.
So not the 2003 one, the 99 2000 one, that one.
Oh, sorry, no, the 2003 one. Yeah,
They don't bring up the 99 2000 one?
I don't think so.
What a shame. That's a
They
good one.
kind of skip like all his other years at Manchester United, just flash forward to like 2003.
Do they talk about the Greece free kick?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's probably fuzzy to you what episode is what at this point. It's clearer to me because I just only watch episode 1 and 2. But is there anything else you wanted to conclude with?
Yeah, to your point, I'm trying to remember what's in what.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, Real Madrid does not come up yet, really.
Yeah. The next,
I don't think
it. The next two.
Yeah, I actually don't think Real Madrid is mentioned once in these first 2 episodes. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Can't remember. So for the next one, you want to do episode 3 and 4, or just do one more episode to conclude the last
really
2?
Real Madrid is let's do 3 and 4, because Real Madrid is really, like, you don't even have to watch all of episode 4. It's just like a quarter of episode 4. So it's like episode 3 and then a quarter of episode 4.
So you're saying we should do episode 3 and 4 together?
Yeah.
Or separately?
Together.
You don't want me to watch the first 10 minutes of episode 3 and do a podcast on that?
Yeah.
Break it down to 10 more segments? Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'll watch episodes 3 and 4. And Real Madrid are back to action this weekend versus Sevilla, so we might save it for next week. We won't. I don't know when we'll do, but we'll figure that out off air. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Matt and I have also done historical segments that include Beckham in the past. We've relived previous games in the Beckham era, and we've talked about it, so you guys can go listen to that. We've also done the Champions League final in 2000 in Paris versus Valencia, which is the season after this one, where we both knocked out Manchester United and Bayern. We may have even done that Manchester United game. I don't know, but we've done a lot of Beckham talk, so you guys can also go and listen to those older episodes as well. Matt, thanks, buddy. We'll catch you on the next one. Well, I'm going to talk to you this weekend after the Sevilla game, or?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Sergio Ramos and Real Madrid reunite. There's also a lot of good content on the website right now. Mehdi wrote about Ramos and Real Madrid reuniting this weekend and kind of some of the historical background setting it up. There's also a big article about Xabi Alonso from Sid. And I also dropped a huge tactical column today, tactical observations. So that's all on the website now, in addition to the daily news. Go check it out. Matt, this was fun, man. Chat soon. Chat Saturday after the Sevilla game.
Yep.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Kiyan.
Peace.